Hi, everyone. This is going to be a review of a song called Precious by Depeche Mode from 2005 and see if we can find some certain spiritual message in the song itself or a lesson. And there is a reference to God in this song. It's a small segment, but even the context, the greater context, seems to have a greater meaning than just that one passage, that one line that mentions God. So this was one of the top thought-provoking songs that I've ever heard, and it brought back thoughts, and I'll get into that in a minute. It rose to number 4 in the UK and rose to number 71 in the USA on the Billboard Top 100. And this is a song by the English electronic band called Depeche Mode from their studio album Playing the Angel. It was released on the 3rd of October 2005 by Mute and some other records. And this was the lead single. The song reached number 4 on the UK singles chart, number 71 on the US Billboard Hot 100, and number 23 on the US Modern Rock Tracks chart. It also topped the charts in Denmark, Italy, Spain, and Sweden, and it peaked within the top 10 in Austria, Wallonia, wherever that is. I'm sorry, I haven't ever heard of that country. Canada, Finland, Germany, and Norway. And what caught my attention when I was listening to this, and I don't know how it even came on my radio, but it caught my attention when I heard these words. If God has a master plan that only He understands, I hope it's your eyes He's seeing through. So it's just a very thought-provoking thought, is that if God's going to have a master plan, He hopes this person, the penitent, if you will, He's praying that it will be through the eyes of this person or persons. And so it just makes you think, can God see or devise a master plan by looking through our heart and then make a plan for us? So it just makes you think. That's what I was at first glance. Anyway, when I heard this song, and I'm going to play it for you in a minute, and the only thing I could pick up from it, and I related to it directly, was that it was about a final medical care for his wife. That's what I assumed it meant, and his regrets over her suffering, and he just would love to take the suffering away from her. Um, Now, see if you don't see that. See if you don't hear that yourself. So I'm going to now play for you the song. Somebody already put up the song with the lyrics with it, did a great job. And so I'm going to play their whole clip. It includes their reference and who they are. That's great. I'd love to give the credit back to the person who did this part of the video that I'm presenting because it's helpful. All right, so here we go.
Some fragile things need special handling. My God, what have we done to you? We always tried to share the tenderest of care. Now look what we have put you through. Things get broken. I thought we'd manage, but words left unspoken left us so brittle. There was so little left to
So when I first heard this song, it definitely impressed me as having to do with final care. And you would hope that, you felt bad of what you as the family trying to keep your family or loved one. I was thinking of my father when he went through cancer, trying to keep him alive. Am I doing him a favor? So all this medical intervention is really helping him, or just making him go through more pain that he ultimately can't survive this cancer. It's just riddling his body, and so it's sort of a very difficult, stressful time to know what to do. You don't want to kill your parent. At the same time, you don't want to see your parent suffer. So this song made me think of all those thoughts, but it was not about that last care. It was actually about a divorce of one of the band members, and he, as a father, had 2 children, and he regretted the effect of it on the children. And so I went and I listened again, and not listened again. I went and read the lyrics, and then I learned more about it. And then, well, first of all, I read this article. This is from songmeaningsandfacts.com. So it was written by Depeche Mode member Martin Gore, though it is sung from the personal perspective of lead vocalist David Gahan. At the time of its penning, Gore was going through a divorce, and this track is centered on the sympathy he had for his children due to them bearing witness to this. In other words, he feels that they did not deserve to go through such emotional turmoil. Indeed, he and his wife had always tried to do the best for them, but he recognizes his children as fragile and innocent. So, in addition to feeling sorry for them, he implores them to understand that things get broken and maintain trust in both of their parents. And see, that last part of it was what I didn't really hear. And so that's in these words: I pray you learn to trust, have faith in both of us, and keep room in your hearts for two. So that was the disproof, if you will, of my initial listening. And then every time I just listened to it again and again because I just was so moved by the lyrics, but I didn't study the lyrics to see if what my thought was true or not. So what this really turned out to be, it was a love letter by a earthly father to his children. And so that made me think, what spiritual lesson can I derive from this and then share with you? And then this song has good value regardless of how you interpret it, actually, doesn't it? But what what does it teach us also about spiritual issues as well? Well, one of the morals is you can misunderstand scripture too, because scripture is written in the same kind of way sometimes, in a poetical way. And so you can see how in a poetry, things that are said in general emotional tones do not literally always speak directly to the actual issue. So sometimes you must reflect on every word of a passage until a love letter from the Father is visible. So that's what I missed. I didn't realize this was a father to children instead of a husband to a wife who was going through suffering. The second moral lesson is this: we should have faith that God Yahweh has a master plan, and that's what's going to help us go through the pain and understand it. And it brought to mind this verse in Jeremiah that, granted, it's taken out of context by everybody, but I want to show you it is a good way of praying about things. So this is where it says, I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord Yahweh, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future. So we often read this and just apply it to ourselves. So that, I would say, is called presumption. You need to pray that this becomes true in your life, that God has a plan for you and that he will show it to you and that you can fulfill his plan for your life. So that's my suggestion today. Today's Shabbat is think about this passage here today. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future. And I would say God has a plan for all of us. Whether we fulfill it or not is the difference. So it's not just, I have a plan for you and you're going to be predestined to have all these things happen to you. And that's what some Christians believe. But this verse is talking about, I have plans for you that you might not fulfill. So you need to pray for the plan, whatever God's plan is, that you can understand it, learn what it is, and then fulfill it. Do what you are supposed to be doing with your life. You might be a lifeguard. You're saving people's lives at the beach. That's or at a pool. That may be what you are skilled at. Now, and it may not be your life plan, meaning it may be 10, 15 years of your life, then move to something else that is of equally the plan of God for you. So just keep looking for that plan and God will reveal it to you. And just like I said, you won't see it maybe initially. You may hear even the messages and you misunderstand the message. Like I did here. I thought this was about uh, 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 someone looking at their loved one, their wife in particular. I thought who was going through chemotherapy, like my father was going through. So I just related it to experience I had. But now I'm seeing it's for people who are children of divorce. This is something you need to feel comfort from. Fortunately, I didn't go through that, but I'm, one third of America, maybe half. I don't know how our children. Well, maybe one third of marriages have children that are in the marriage at the time of divorce that are not of age yet, not adults. So there's a lot of families go through pain, and hearing your father's pain like this, I think will help you who are in that category too. So I think it can help people who have watched their loved ones suffer through a last illness. I think it can help children of divorce. I think it can help the parent of divorce to think about God's master plan, even when you're going through tragedy and difficulty. So I'm just going to wrap this up and say that this song is, in a sense, a prayer of a father expressed directly to his children, and also you could turn this into a prayer to Yahweh Himself. And so it's a model of the kind of things you go through in when you pray. So look at it that way, and also remember that it means that in sometimes your first reading of a passage of scripture, particularly from the Psalms, which are song-like, or certain parts of the even the prophets, the law and the prophets in particular have a similar kind of allegorical vision type statements, and you must be careful not to apply them incorrectly because you need to then read the full context to make sure you know all the particulars about a particular passage. And then so that's exactly what I did. I was starting to sit down to do this video, and I did research on the lyrics and the background of the song, and then boom, it's it's totally different than what I thought it was. But still, it was good messages that we got out of it, good lessons. So, all right, everybody, today is Shabbat. Hope you all have a good time of rest and time with the Lord. Spend time in prayer today, and pray for your family. Pray for people who are children of divorce, and if you know someone in particular in that category, pray for that person and still they're dealing with that issue. It's a lifelong problem. People who are children of divorce. So, anyway, God bless. Take care. Ciao.
Angels with silver wings, should've known suffering. I wish I could take the pain for you. If God has a master plan,